Good morning, everyone. Can you see us?
We can
Morning.
see you.
We can.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us today. I'm Lorelei Sanders. I'm the manager of the state programs and budget section here at Workforce Development. And just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Did want to let you know that we are recording this session today and it will be posted later on YouTube. So we'll provide that link to everyone when it is up. And also, if you have any questions or comments as we go along, you're welcome to add those to the chat. We won't be addressing questions at the end, but what we'll do is we'll collect all the questions and then we're going to publish a Q&A on our website and we'll make sure we send that out to everyone. Okay, so today we're going to be giving you some information about the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and also our staff, our responsibilities here at Workforce. Okay, so what is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or some people call it WIOA, some people call it WIOA. It was a law that Congress passed in 2014, and it's designed to help both job seekers and employers. Job seekers, we try to help them access employment, education, and training, and help employers find the employees they need. It was implemented here in Alabama over a 2-year period, and so we started it in 2016. Next slide. Okay, so who does WIOA serve and benefit? So we got 4 different categories here. Primarily, I mean, they're all important, but we do focus on the job seekers who have barriers to employment, especially those who are what we call basic skills deficient, who need additional training and education in order to enter the workforce. Also, we put a lot of emphasis on our employers because we want to help the state continue to grow. So we help to match those employers up with our job seekers when they are looking for jobs or more training. We also support communities through all these efforts. And one unique thing about WIOA is it also empowers our agencies to work together, and it really encourages partnerships among the agencies to make sure the individuals and the employers are receiving the best services across all of our different funding sources and just different resources that we have. Next. Okay, so we're just going to start out with who administers WIOA. So at the top, of course, is Governor Ivey. The governor is responsible for the WIOA planning and implementation across the whole state. And under the governor is our state workforce board. That is made up of it's a majority of business leaders, but also people from other sectors, economic development, the different workforce agencies. And they're responsible for creating a plan on how to deliver these services and what will be prioritized in our state. Next. Okay. So under the board and the governor, we have a grant recipient, and that is our office, the Department of Workforce and the Workforce Development Office. We receive the WIOA funds from the U.S. Department of Labor. And there's also 8 other agencies that receive different types of WIOA funds, but there's 6 main programs that are funded through the U.S. Department of Labor: adult services, dislocated worker, youth services, and our Wagner Pizer, or you may know that as our employment service programs. And then the U.S. Department of Education funds the adult education and literacy, and also some rehabilitation services. So, and then we have 7 regional workforce boards in our state. And they are really an important part of our operations. They decide the priorities at their local area. And just to let you know a little bit about the 7 areas, how we organize those, they are organized around, I guess, central metro areas, and we took into consider commuting patterns, who feeds into those economic areas when we formed the 7 regions. Of course, this was back in 2016 when we did that. So they're the ones who oversee the funding for the different local areas and the priorities at that level in the state. Also, we have one-stop operators that are selected by the regional workforce boards, and they just work to coordinate the service delivery of all the one-stop partners and service providers. That is something that is required in the WIOA law. And then we also have our Alabama Career Centers, also known as one-stops, or you may see them called American Job Centers as well across the nation. And they are the boots on the ground, working with our customers, our job seekers, and our businesses. And they work to help people connect to the services they need, and also to help employers find the workforce that they're looking for. Okay, so we just wanted to talk about our core partners. So I mentioned earlier there's different pieces of WIOA. So there's 4 titles, and Title 1 is the 3 of the programs that are funded by the U.S. Department of Labor. So those are adult, dislocated worker, and youth services. And those funds come into the Alabama Department of Workforce and the Workforce Development Office. Some of those funds go to things like they're for training and also workforce preparation services for youth, specifically for youth. And there's some of the other services might be supportive services that we help them to access throughout the state. We also have Alabama Community College System receives funds for Title II, and that's adult education. So that's helping individuals who may not have their high school diploma get their GED, and also just any literacy, if they need to address any literacy deficiencies in order to obtain employment. So Title III is our employment and career services, and the recipient of those funds is also the Alabama Department of Workforce, our Employment Services Division, and those services include the Career Center services, where they try to match up the job seekers with the employers and provide businesses with any other services that they need. Okay, and then last but not least, Title IV, we have vocational rehabilitation services that go to our Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services. And those funds are to support individuals with disabilities who are wanting to enter the workforce. So all these grant funds come into these different agencies, and we wanted to tell you a little bit about our funding and allocations, how those come in. So we do get our funds, primarily from the U.S. Department of Labor, and the amount of the funding that we receive is based on a lot of different factors, but some of those factors are the state's population, unemployment rate, civilian labor force. And what they do is they look at the nation as a whole, and they divide up the funding that Congress has provided for the states based on those factors. So of those funds, they're divided up at the state level into different kinds of costs. So The state funding, the state does get to keep up to 15% of the allocations, and this is for Title I. So they get to keep, we get to keep 15%, and 5% of that is for our administrative costs, like personnel costs, and also we keep 10% for statewide activities. I mentioned earlier the supportive services, and another good example of statewide activities would be our incumbent worker training program. So that's funded out of that. So then we have our 7 local areas. So once the funds come into the state keeps 15%, and then also a 3% for our rapid response services. And then the remaining 82% goes out to the 7 local areas. That's divided up in a similar way to how the funds are divided among the states. Once they get to the local level, the local level keeps 10% for that local area or that region's administrative cost, again, such as personnel. And then the program cost, that's going to be your direct provision of services, training services, and other types of services to the participants and the employers. And so that's divided up. When you look at it, it's 10% for the admin cost and 90% for the program cost. Next. Okay, so when do we receive our funds? The state receives the funds on 2 different calendar years. One is a program year. So the program year runs from July 1st and ends on June 30th. So for example, we are currently in program year 2025, and that started on July 1st of 2025, and then it will end June 30th of 2026. And then we also receive funds on a fiscal year basis, and that begins on October 1st, just like our state fiscal year, and ends on September 30th. The only thing I wanted to add here is just to give you an idea of how the funding comes in. We receive less funds on the program year and more funds on the fiscal year when they send those out. So the majority of the funds come on the fiscal year calendar. Okay, again, these are our 6 core programs that are funded through WIOA. And we're just going to go into a little more depth on the different services, who's eligible, and some other details on it. We have adult services, which focuses on citizens who are 18 years of age and older. And if to be determined eligible to access the adult services, they have to be low income. And that's based on the lower living standard income level, or LLSIL, if you ever hear anybody refer to that. The U.S. Department of Labor does update that yearly. It's usually sometime in April or May each year to adjust it. And then sometimes we also look at the Health and Human Services poverty level chart, and we just look to see which one might be more beneficial for that participant to qualify. So for adult job seekers, we have several different programs that we can assist them with. So one of our really good ones is the on-the-job training program, or OJT. So OJT matches up employers with participants. So the employer needs a new employee and the participant needs a job, and they go on the job to learn the skills they need. The employers are reimbursed up to 50% of the participant's wages during the training period. Some of our goals of OJT, we want to find permanent employment for our participants, and also help them with long-term employment opportunities, and to build a skilled and trained workforce by working with our employers. Another one of our programs is individual training accounts, or ITAs. So you could just think of these as scholarships to help people go back to school and get training. It is for short-term training, which is generally considered a year or less. And the goal is we want our participants to uh, gain skills, get training and certifications in in-demand areas. And we have some examples listed here. I won't read that whole list, but we have lots of people go through each year and get jobs in these different fields. Now, for a training provider to provide this training, they do have to be listed, like they have to be qualified on our eligible training provider list. So our eligible training provider list is kind of like a vetting process where we can look at the different training providers who want to provide this training. And then we have the list available to our participants and to the public on our website. You'll see the hyperlink there. But the customers can search for different programs they may be interested in their local area or whatever field of study they're wanting to go into, also by the training institution. So we do add new trainers to the list one time a year. I believe they're on there from October to September each year. And then we can review the different trainers during the year if needed. Okay, another one of our programs is the Incumbent Worker Training Program, or IWTP. So this is a program for people who are already employed in the state and for the employers where they are employed. So this helps employers to upskill their current employees, and it basically provides a reimbursement to them for their training costs. So our goals are we want to help our businesses remain competitive and avoid layoffs, address any labor shortages, and then, of course, provide the employees with transferable skills that will help them stay employed with that employer or possibly take them to those skills to another employer or advance. Just a few more details about this program. Businesses can apply for up to $30,000 for one grant. There is a $60,000 10-year limit in place, so any one employer would only receive $60,000 over a 10-year period. And then we expect businesses to also make a contribution to the training, which can be in the form of wages. That's what most employers use to meet that match or contribution, the wages of the employees while they're in the training. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about our dislocated worker funding. So dislocated workers, they are people who have lost their jobs through no fault of their own, if there's a layoff or a permanent closure. So we have several services in place to assist them. Some of those same ones we just went over, ITAs, OJTs, and we also encourage registered apprenticeship to help those people. And we have a rapid response team here housed at Workforce Development that will go out to the business if there's 50 or more employees. I mean, sometimes we work with the ones with less, but if there's definitely 50 or more, we try to provide them with information about their benefits, any retraining and job placement that's available to them. Okay, also, here's just a little more information about our rapid response program. The way we know about these layoffs is we receive a warn notice. Also, we check media to see if there's anything posted there. And we do, like I said earlier, help these people who are being laid off to access services through the one-stop career centers, anything that may be available to help them get back on their feet. And we also just want you to know that we also will serve employees who lose their employment, if there's some type of natural disaster. So we do go out for that as well. Okay. And there's, the third part of this program is our youth funding. So youth are considered to be ages 16 to 24. They have to be low income. And in addition to that, they must have some type of barrier to employment, such as their basic skills deficient, like their literacy or math levels are not where they need to be. Um, and you'll see the list here, just different barriers that may prevent them from being able to go into the workforce when they are ready to do that. So our youth funding, it focuses on helping youth receive a high school diploma or GED, and also, some work-based learning, things that help them to gain skills that they'll need to enter employment. One of our main youth programs is work-based learning, and that's where youth can go work with an employer for up to 390 hours just to learn things like good work habits. And it's the employers, of course, supervise them, and it's very important that they earn that wage to help support that. The wage comes directly from our funding, our youth funding, and it's at 100%. Okay, so those are the three Title One funding sources. Again, those are adult, dislocated worker, and youth. And then we also, again, have WIOA funding going into different programs. Adult education receives funds from Title II to help. This would be adult students with GED preparation and helping them get their skills where they need to be to go to work. Wagner Pizer, this is our employment service program. It helps people to find jobs if they're looking for a job, and also it helps to match employers with people who may be looking for a job, and that's done through our career centers. Also, we want to mention we have unemployment insurance and labor market information under our employment service division. Labor market information is a really great resource if you're ever wanting to see what the needs of the state are, what type of individuals that are looking for a job or who we're trying to serve. Okay, and our last title, Title IV, is vocational rehabilitation, and they provide services to persons with disabilities, supporting them with, resources that they need, any accommodations that the employer may need help with in order for that person to go to work. And I would like to mention all of these partners are located in our core career centers throughout the state. And we just wanted to mention our registered apprenticeship programs. This is not one of our core partners, but they're one of our really important partners. So registered apprenticeship is basically an education and a on-the-job training program. The person is employed with an employer, and it helps the workers to find jobs, and it helps the employers to have a structured program on how to teach the employees the skills that they need. Usually they run anywhere from 2 to 4 years. And when the person completes the registered apprenticeship, they will earn like a certification that's the equivalent to a 4-year degree. Okay, and our regional workforce areas, they help us to prioritize these programs, what we're going to be offering each year with our funding. And they also assist us with all the decisions we make at a regional level. They are made up of 19 or possibly 20 members. We can't have any more than 20 members on these boards. and it's a majority of business, but we also have representatives from other sectors such as workforce and also economic development. Okay, so that was just a overview of our WIOA programs and some of the different funding and services that are available. We also wanted to tell you a little bit today about our Workforce Development Office, about our staff here and the responsibilities for each section that we have. What we have provided here for you is the main contact for these different areas. Tammy Wilkinson is our director of our Workforce Development Office, and we are responsible for overseeing Title I activities. So that would be your adult dislocated worker and youth programs. And then our division is divided up between local administration of 6 of the local workforces and then also our state programs. So for our local workforce areas, we have Jess Thompson, who's over our youth programs, ITAs, and the eligible training provider list. I believe you heard from her a few weeks ago on our youth programs. Also, we have Ann Fonder, who is here in the room with me today, who is our liaison for workforce areas 1, 4, and 6, and also Joel Henderson, who is our liaison for areas 2, 3, and 5. We also have our career and employment services, primarily our on-the-job training. Our main contact for that is Terry Comer. Rapid response is Margaret Henderson. And then we have our evaluation and reporting section. And the supervisor of that is Kevin Mahajran. They compile all our reports that we are required to send to USDOL quarterly and yearly and track our performance to see how our participants are doing in these programs. And then also I'm the manager of our state programs. So that includes incumbent worker, some of our supportive services, and relocation assistance. Also, I would just like to mention that in addition to our WIOA programs that we've gone over today, we do also apply for some additional grant funds at times. And we have currently have 5 what we call discretionary grants. And these are just funds that are in addition to the WIOA funds to help address certain priorities in the state and serve different populations. So one of those, for example, is our reentry grants. So we do have 2 grants currently that serve people who are trying to reenter the community after they've been in prison. So we have that, and we also have a Delta Regional Authority grant and some other ones. So I just wanted you to be aware that we do also take care of those funds when they come in. And then this is a list of our upcoming training. I believe this was already sent out to you, but we hope you'll be able to join us. Each of these trainings are going to go into more detail of the topics that we just touched on today. And this is going to conclude our presentation for today. This is our contact information at the Alabama Department of Workforce. If you do have any additional questions or comments that you would like to see us address in our Q&As, please feel free to email me at this address. Thank you so much for joining us, and hope all of you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Thank you.